I'm glad to bring in now retired four-star Air Force General Philip Breedlove. He served as commander of the Supreme Allied Command Europe. General, always good to have you with us. Thank you very much. You know, I actually want to start by playing President Trump's comments this morning because Peter Doocy just reported that President Trump has given a message to Israel that, you know, in terms of our involvement, we're done. For now, obviously, with regard to this action that took place over the weekend. He was very incensed this morning that his ceasefire agreement was breached in terms of his read on what was going on overnight. Here he is this morning. Very strong words, pretty salty language. I'm sure it's nothing you haven't heard. Let's play it.
These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. Okay. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
General, your reaction to that and what we have seen after that today in terms of things calming down somewhat with Israel and Iran?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. I think that what you saw is a world leader that has invested immensely in trying to bring peace to this area. I think he looks a little tired. It looks like he has worked really hard on the decision to go in with U.S. force to help bring this to a close. And I think that he expected these two nations to get the message and pull back. And when they didn't, I think you saw a very human reaction.
So I'm curious what your take is on the power centers in the world right now, because there's a lot of questions about Europe's role. We understand there's reporting that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, said, you know, we don't want to escalate things. We don't want to, that there was some suggestion that they could take part in this. And we're still fleshing out the back and forth on that. But at this NATO summit, how powerful is NATO at this stage of the game when you look at the bold leadership that we see in the U.S. and in Israel, really, at this point?
Well, I think that we have to consider who are we looking at their strength against. You know, NATO touts itself as a defensive alliance. Its primary enemy is Mr. Putin and Mr. Putin's military, which since 2008 has amassed itself, marched across internationally recognized borders, and invaded its neighbors 4 times. So if we look at Russia as the enemy right now, actually NATO's in a pretty good place because Ukraine has beaten up the Russian army to the point where many people believe Russia's actually losing the war at this point.
It's a great point. And this morning there was a piece in the Wall Street Journal about Russia's cold shoulder to Iran. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Well, frankly, you know, I don't think either China, who also has been doing kind of a cold shoulder, neither China or Russia wanted to be associated with Iran, who I believe they both believed was going to take a whack. And when Iran finally crossed over President Trump's line, they took a whack. And so I don't think these nations want their equipment or their reputation tarnished by what has happened to Iran.
Yeah, interesting assessment. In terms of Article 5 and what Peter Doocy was just discussing, the possibility that President Trump might bring this up tomorrow and say, you know, if you're not all in with your 5%, no promises of Article 5.
I'm not going to get into politics and the way that President Trump does his shall we say, negotiations with people. Clearly, this is a message. And from what I hear, the Secretary General Rutte has brought everybody on board now to the commitment on spending. There was some thought that maybe Spain would be a holdout. And I just heard on your program moments ago that possibly they are all now signed on. That is a good sign. What we need to come out of this summit is unity, and that would include America in that unity.
Absolutely. And the more skin in the game the players have, the more the commitment, usually. General Breedlove, always good to see you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.